Hello, everyone, and welcome to our 36th episode of Magicians Without Borders Conversations. Today is our mailbag episode. We're going to be answering some of your comments and questions. And if you are joining us live right now, please let us know your comments or questions here in the chat. So I'm just writing it down now. So let us know any questions or comments that you might have. You can send them directly on the chat, or you can send us an email at podcast@magicianswithoutborders.com, or you can tweet them at magicianswb. So before we start answering some of the questions that we got, I wanted to remind you, as always, that we have a store that you can visit. You can go to store.magicianswithoutborders.com, and over there you can find different services that we provide, online services like magic at home. You can have a magic show in your living room or in your bedroom or wherever you're comfortable with. A show that we're going to do with our students. We have a birthday party tomorrow, and some of the kids in the slums of Colombia are going to be performing for a birthday in the States. I think that's a wonderful thing that this new technology allows us to do. So if you want to do that or give that as a gift to somebody else, please do. Go to store.magicianswithoutborders.com to do that. And you can also learn magic from us. Our founder, Tom Verner, recorded a wonderful self-paced online video magic course called Become a Magician that you can get for yourself or as a gift in our store. So please do check that out. And also, if you are looking for a different way to support us, and you are in a company, you're working in a company that's going remote or that is already remote, this is a great way to enhance your corporate events or your virtual meetings. I know we're all having screen fatigue or Zoom fatigue or Teams fatigue of always being online and on these platforms, but we found that if you do this kind of activities at the end of the month, your employees are gonna feel a little bit more of wellness. So it's kind of enhancing their well-being online with something that has real impact and also big social value. I think this is something very, very cool. So here's a little video to show you a little bit more. So that's our corporate magic shows. And finally, one last way of supporting us is through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/MWB to see the different tiers of support that you can give us from $3 a month all onwards, and you will get different rewards depending on the tier that you select. This is another way that you can support us, a little bit different from a donation, because in this you're going to get exclusive content from us and our students in our different education chapters that you can enjoy exclusively because you are our Patreon. So we're going to start a mailbag episode. We're going to answer some questions from the audience, and to do that, we're going to welcome our founder, Tom. Hey, Tom, how are you?
I'm great, Carlos. How are you?
Good.
You
Ready?
know,
Because I go
you
afterwards because we have a show
I'm
tomorrow.
sorry, what? Yeah,
That,
we
that I'm
do.
you see the backdrop.
You said that when you were talking about the birthday party in the United States and the kids in the slums there in Bogota are performing, it just is really amazing. I have to stop and pinch myself um, that this pandemic, with your help as far as Magicians Without Borders is concerned, is able to do this. It's really quite amazing. It's really where technology is supporting social good in such a marvelous way. And the kids are so thrilled and happy, and they're learning all kinds of things. They're developing new tricks and ways of performing virtually. They're way ahead of me. It's fantastic. So I just wanted to thank you again for doing
Thank
that.
you for that gratitude. I think it's something that it's both ways, because you've allowed this to go on from the beginning, and also you've joined us in this virtual bonanza that's
Yeah.
going on. It's great. I think it's great that you and the kids and me can take part in. And weirdly enough, this is kind of a democratization of the performance of the kids. How this crazy reality actually allowed us to have a performance in this way that kids in the slums can participate. You don't have to be there, you don't have to get on a plane, you don't have to be that privileged in order to create value through performance from the other part of the planet. I think it's
Yeah.
just great.
I mean, that's so true what you just said. Each of the kids, those of you who haven't seen it, um, just what Carlos has behind him, that wonderful theater set, very simple, just those curtains and the black backdrop. That's in each of the kids' houses, and their homes are very simple, very poor homes, and yet it's kind of magic. It turns it their this little backdrop turns their home into a theater, and they broadcast all around the world. It's
It's
quite
wonderful.
magical. Um,
Yeah, and that backdrop was made by one of our kids as well. Like, he designed it with his father. Her mother helped with the sewing, right? Sewing or threading? No,
yeah,
sewing,
sewing. Yep.
sewing,
So
and then they made multiple for all of us. So that's pretty cool. And now we're recording video with this backdrop. So it's wonderful that we'll have the same presence. I think it's just mind blowing that
yeah,
happened. I'm so happy that that's the reality. Yeah.
I got a question today from
Mm.
someone that heard about Magicians Without Borders, and they were asking me what we've been doing. And I told them about the places we've gone to. And they said something or asked something that I've heard I'd say 100 times in the last 20 years, at least 100 times. And that is, aren't you afraid to go to the places that you go to? And I'm always, I totally understand the question. But I also, my answer is, in these now going on 21 years, it has, I've never really felt scared, except in, one or so situations where I walked into something that we didn't know was going on, or something happened. But I think that I was blessed in one way, with a mother who encouraged me to go out into the world, and not in a foolish way. I mean, you have to be cautious, you have to take, care, but that the world is a place where you can have adventures. And I think the attitude that you bring is very disarming, and people welcome us. I don't know. Do you have any experience like that? Probably even people in Bogota might be a little concerned to go to Ciudad Bolivar. I don't know.
Definitely. I think that a I wouldn't call it a being scared or being afraid. I would call it maybe a a healthy curiosity for the unknown. That's what drives me. But definitely when you do it a bunch of times, that's gone. Like the fear is gone. I never feel or felt fear in recent memory of before I go into situation. Like you said, when we are in that situation and something happens, then maybe you feel something, but it's very seldom that that happens. But I feel that the collective fear or in that sense of, hey, why are you going there, or it's because of two things. One, stereotypes, and the other one is lack of information. I think that
Yeah,
the combination of those two make you afraid because, for example, if you live in Bogota, super metropolitan city with very um, safe in average, and you are used to some kind of neighborhoods, and then you say we're going to go to the slums. You're like, why on earth are you going to go there? That's where all bad things happen, right? And that's where
yeah,
stereotypes come in, because whenever you hear news about something in the slums in Bogota, it's always bad, right? Like with
yeah,
most things in the news, it's always bad, right?
yeah,
So that's on the back of the general public mind, is like, hey, dangers over there's dangers, or the stigma that Colombia as a country had in the 1980s and 1990s, right? Drugs, cartels, insecurities, bombs, whatever, right? So
right,
it's
right.
that stereotype, and also lack of information. Like if you've never been, right, how are you going to be able to judge it if you're only going to judge it by what either media tells you or whatever, the collective lack of knowledge tells you.
Yeah,
But once you're there, and you might feel nothing at all. It's just a place like any other, right? That has some of its challenges, of course. But once you get to know the people and the community, and it just, it brings, and of course, I think that what you just said, the attitude you bring, because you are in an attitude of service, right? And when
yeah,
you're in that attitude, whatever comes your way, you're prepared to serve, and you're prepared to do whatever. So I think that also helps, right? If you're only there because, I don't know, the motive might not be the best, to be prepared for something uncertain, then maybe you could kind of feel something or whatever. But I think it's just mostly those two things.
Yeah, I think that attitude of um, service in the sense of taking this gift that we've been given, learning magic, and taking it and wanting to spread that kind of happiness is an attitude that makes it safe in some ways, for the most part. Um,
Yeah, and I
also,
feel
also,
that
go ahead.
yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, but
No,
I
that's
think
good.
that's something that you feel that when you're kind of like on a mission, right? When you're on a mission and you're like, we're gonna do this, so there's that uh, impulse of finishing it, right? And you plow through whatever it's in front. I think that helps. But also, I think even if the place is unsafe or known because it is unsafe, when they see what you're there for, I think the community's eyes towards these strangers changes, right? We're
Yeah,
not there to promise anything. We're not there to, get anything. We're not there to, we're just there to try and bring joy, right?
yeah,
And I think that's wonderful. I remember once I was with a group of clowns, and we were driving. We were on my car, and we were driving, or a borrowed car actually, and we were driving looking for this place in the slums, and we're like, we're going, and we were lost, right?
uh-huh.
And there was a little bit of unrest of some volunteers in the car saying, no, but we're lost, we don't know where we are, and we're like, yeah, chill, right? We ended up finding people in the community, rolling down our windows, and they were on clown outfit, right? So they were with their nose and everything, and that people started pointing like, "Oh, look at this clown," blah blah. And then we explained what we were going to do, right? And they're like, "Oh yeah, that's over there." So then we ended up finding a police car that was waiting for us because the police had set that up for us over there, right? And then the police just came to a place, and he said, we don't go any further, but the place is a little bit over there, right? You have to go on your own. And we're like, why don't you go, right? And there's this,
Wow.
unspoken agreement with the community that the police just does not go any further. And then I was like, okay, right? But then one of the policemen uh, without the uniform on like a civilian suit, right?
Yeah.
He said like, "Hey, I'll go with you," right? And he jumped in. We started going, and then while we were going there, he said, because there was one volunteer that was feeling kind of shaky. He said, you don't have to be worried because what are they going to do to a bunch of clowns, right? And what are they going to do to you, right? And that eased her, right? And but I think it was a little bit more profound than that. It was like, hey, you, everyone knows what you're here for, right? So,
Yeah.
like, why would they do something like? And what could they possibly do? I don't know. It was
Yeah.
something that calmed her and calmed all of us. That was just, I don't know, that I don't know, kind of protective thing that you
Yeah.
come with. You're going to perform.
Yeah. You do hear, you hear in the news, you
Look at that comment from Michael. Can you read it, Tom?
it seems that other places that's amazing. Um
You're right, Michael.
I was just going to say one of the most horrible things you sometimes hear in the news, which is contrary to what you were just saying, is every now and then you hear that healthcare workers, were killed by terrorists, and
or
and
journal.
I think
Hmm.
or journalists, but I think that's what makes it an act of terror is that they do something that is just not done. You take people who are there helping, doing good, setting up a hospital or a school or something, and you kill them. If you're going to kill people like that, you can do anything somehow, and that's very terrorizing. That people would. So, I mean, it's a very, very rare act that, like what you said, well, what are they going to do? Like the clowns or doctors or nurses who are. We're going to have a doctor on, in a couple of weeks, who spent 25 years going to Myanmar, to Burma. And this would be a great kind of question to ask him, because he comes, by his own estimate, comes from a very good world, a safe world. He's a doctor, very successful surgeon, and yet he went to, some really difficult places. And I didn't hear anything about fear in the interviews I listened to, but we can talk to him about that. Has he ever run into that? That would be great.
That would be great. That would be great.
Also something in mythology, the trickster. The first definition of the trickster is somebody who moves back and forth across borders or barriers or between worlds. They're at home in different worlds. And I think that's a wonderful image for Magicians Without Borders. I live in a very privileged world. You live in a really wonderful part of Bogota. And yet you can go from that world into the world of where Tamara and Diego and the kids live, which is a very different world. And you can feel at home there. You go there, and and I think being able to move between worlds is a wonderful thing, and it enriches my life.
I agree. I was just this morning talking about the trip, the trip to South Africa, right? Because a friend of mine wants to go, and we were talking about that, right? And I was like, you should go to this township, and you should go to this, right? And he's like, why on earth would I go there, right? And that's
Are you crazy?
Yeah. But it's like, yeah, like, why would I pay to go there, right? If I live in Colombia, that was what he said. But to add to what you said, it enriches your world. And I remember the answer to a question like that to one of our volunteers that went with us on that trip, to Aiden, that says that she will, whenever she traveled again, she's going to see at that in her trips, that she's going to do them differently, because she's going to want to see the real world and the advertised world, right? And I think that's so true. That's so true, that we need to acknowledge that the world is, that they are different, that there are different worlds, and that you can go and move between them, and that you should.
Think it just seems almost silly to me. Certain kinds of, say, American tourists, and there are probably tourists like this all over the world, who will go to Ethiopia, an amazing world, and they'll stay at the Addis Ababa Sheraton or Hilton, and they hardly ever leave that compound, or they'll go out in some kind of very safe, like a bus or something, and look around, and they just really don't get a sense of the world that they're in,
The real world, right?
The real world, anyhow, any other questions? That was one that I got this week. Also, I think something that really disarms people is that we don't charge for the shows we do in these places. And that somehow, well, why are you here? What are you doing? And when they realize we're not there for money, we're not there for fame, there's no TV cameras or anything. We're just there to spread joy and happiness and magic, and it they trust us somehow, that we're not exploiting them. Okay, so I asked you, and then I interrupted you. Did you have any questions you wanted to?
Yeah, well, there's one that I want to try and address, and it's like when you get started, right? You doing magic in a social setting or in the slums or in a place that is not uh, a place suited, quote unquote, for magic, or you're not set to do magic, like you're not set in a stage with lighting, with sound.
Right.
What would be the best tricks to perform? And I think that question, can branch out into many. But how about we tackle them in what do you think, Tom, are the tricks that play best in that setting?
Well, the first thing that came into my mind was they need to be. This is very practical, and we'll get to a performance answer to the question, but they have to fit into a fairly small suitcase, and they have to very much. It's a bit of a cliche among magicians and especially dealers who sell magic that it packs small but plays big. You see that all the time in magic catalogs and things.
Mhm.
But that's very true for me when I'm traveling. I really need to be able to, when people ask me, what do you need? Um, all I need is a table and an audience. That's all I need. Um, and that's pretty simple, lights, stage. It's certainly great to have some kind of raised platform. And if I can find a way to, get ups, because we're often performing for fairly large crowds of people, that would be great. But we've learned to adapt to all kinds of situations. My rule, I think, when I think about what I bring, I want to bring things that don't look like magic props. I want to bring like a piece of silk, a piece of cloth. I want to bring ropes. I want to bring balls. I want to bring a paper bag, something that is recognizable to almost anybody anywhere in the world, that it's an ordinary object. And so rather than, for those magicians in the audience tonight, rather than a square circle or some kind of production device, I'd rather use something that's marketed under the name of Dream Bag, and it's just a paper bag, and you can show it empty and people can put their hand in there, or I can put it over my head or over someone's head and they can look inside of it. And it looks like a paper bag, something that they would have. So that's one of my guidelines is simple, real objects.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that the stuff that looks as mundane as it could look. I think that's wonderful. I think that well, now I think of it as two things. I think that the tricks that perform best are or you should bring, or you should try to bring for two settings. One that is a stage show, right? And another one that is a walk around, right? Or
Yeah.
street, because you might be on those two situations. And anything with, with silks works perfectly. With ropes works perfectly for a big audience, and for a smaller audience, I think the best one for me is either with coins or a sponge balls. I love sponge balls. I think they have, I don't know, they do feel kind of goofy. I don't know, little sponge ball, right? But the effect, it's so powerful that
Yeah.
it can happen in their hands, and I think that's the best one, right? When it happens in their hands, when they are the, the makers of magic, or because it's in their hands, is that it works. I think that is the best results on that social setting, because I think that it's because they're almost never, right, the protagonist of something, right? They're almost never, attributed something positive, right? And when that happens, and it happens in their hands, because you're there, you did it, right? Those moments are, I don't know, are just wonderful to witness, because when you do that for example, a kid in a birthday party, they might have, a great reaction. But when they're used to being the center of attention, when they're used to being, pampered, when, it's a different reaction than when you're never the center of attention, and when you're
Yeah.
never,
Yeah.
given the spotlight. So I don't know. So those are the ones that I think perform best
Yeah,
in those.
I think we take sometimes sponge balls for granted, but they really are. I was just thinking about a show that I just booked a week ago, and for Memorial Day here in the United States, the last Monday in May, and it's going to be in a tent, and I use like 2.5 inch, pretty good sized sponge balls, and you can hold those up, and people can really see them. And I just have said this before during our conversations. But I think because I perform oftentimes for people. Many of whom do not speak English, my magic has to be really visual and pretty limited in terms of language. And
Yeah.
you can
Mhm.
hold up two balls, and you have to slow down, you have to make it big. And sponge balls are perfect for that. And what you said about it happening in their hand, I mean, I've had kids, jump, almost scared that these three balls came out of their hand when they thought there was only one in there, or it multiplied. Yeah. Uh,
Definitely.
so sponge balls and coins, also, like you said, maybe not for a big show, but I definitely have a coin routine. You've probably seen me do it on the street. I love just stopping and performing for kids on the street,
No,
especially in India, where kids are sometimes begging for money, and they come up and they put their hand out like they want money, and I'll reach into their ear and pull a coin out of their ear, and all of a sudden, then I put it in my hand and it's gone, or now it's broken in half, and there's two of them, and I've had kids um, forget that they were begging for money, that they ended up seeing a magic show, and then maybe I will give them a coin at the end, uh, but they get so much more than just a few rupees. They get.
of course. That's so cool. So let's walk into a pretend scenario, Tom. You are going to go to a social magic show, right? But you can only bring three things. Which are those three things that you would take? Just
Um,
okay. Let's do three numbers or three tricks, right? Not
yeah.
three, for example, not the three ropes of the professor's nightmare, but the three
No,
tricks.
I understand. I was just thinking like that if I was um performing in many of the refugees camps and places, if I was performing in a
You don't know
situation
where. No,
here,
you don't know where. You don't know where. You're gonna be dropped. I don't know where, but you need to
okay,
bring just three things.
okay, if I was gonna not be sure where I was gonna be, um,
Mm-hmm.
I probably would not bring um a deck of playing cards, you know, just because, I mean, if I, that's why I wanted to say if I was performing here in North America, I might bring a deck of playing cards
Understood.
because you can do so many things with a deck of playing cards. Um, I get a kick out of it if I'm at a party and I take out a deck of cards and a little kid will say, I know that trick, you know, and I have like 50 books in my library upstairs, magic library, on card tricks, you know. But as soon as you bring out a deck of cards, I know that trick. But I just think there's a lot of things you have to know about a deck of playing cards in order to for a kid to appreciate. I think that's one of the reasons they said. Anyhow, I'm getting sidetracked here. I would bring three ropes, the professor's nightmare, because you
Mhm.
can do, and it would be a wonderful exercise. What are all the tricks that you can do with those three ropes? You know, you can take the big one and the small one and do a cut and restored rope routine. You know, you don't have to do the professor's nightmare at all. You could do a bunch of tricks with that. And it's very visual. You know, you have this very distinct, a little rope, a medium rope, a big rope. They all become the same size. I was just reading, I just got my latest issue of Mum, the Society of American Magicians today. And there's a routine in there for the professor's nightmare. You know, it's really interesting. It's about bears, a mama bear, a papa bear, and a baby bear. And
Oh,
the father bear says, and they're having spaghetti for dinner. And he says, the big piece of spaghetti is for Papa, and the medium piece is for Mama, and this little one is for Baby Bear. And Baby Bear's a kind of revolutionary, democratic person. And the little Baby Bear says, that's not fair. We should all have equal pieces of spaghetti. And he takes the three pieces of spaghetti back and does, you know, the professor's nightmare, and then the routine goes on from there, you know. So even that trick that's been around and everybody does it, and the introduction to the article said that, you know, this is a classic of modern magic, everybody does it. So I would take that. I would take um, a thumb tip and a silk, and you can do lots of things with a thumb tip. When I owned a magic shop, we had a um, a little book that we sold 100 tricks with
yeah.
a thumb tip.
Okay, 100 trips.
You
Okay,
know,
yeah.
and you can vanish a cigarette in your hand with a thumb tip, a burning cigarette. You know,
It's like a Swiss Army knife of tricks. Yeah.
Yeah, so I would take that. I think it's probably the most useful utility device, a thumb tip, the 3 ropes, and what else would I take? Definitely would take coins. Um,
Okay, that's it. 3. No more.
3. Okay. Coins, ropes, and thumb tip, and a piece of silk.
Good, good.
How about you?
For me, it's so hard to decide. Actually, this question took me a while, but I would say I would bring also the ropes, so 3 pieces of rope. I would bring the sponge balls. I would definitely
Uh-huh.
bring the sponge balls, and I would bring a thumb tip with a bill. That
And a
would
bill.
be
Yeah.
yeah. So to
Mhm.
do a bill switch with that would be the 3 that I bring.
You're also blessed with being a good juggler, and that's really something. You don't even have to bring anything. You can just pick up, 3 stones or 3 pieces of fruit or whatever, and do a little. People love that. People love juggling, and I
That
can do simple 3 ball juggling, and that's all I need.
such a simple tool, but with such a versatility when you perform. I mean, juggling can give you a time off magic, right? So you're doing magic, and then when you introduce juggling, it's like a refresher, right? When sometimes you
Yeah,
have a long show and you put something in there that's not magic, that's a refresher, and I think that's very useful. And also in a social setting, it's something as mime as the same as mime when the floor is there and starts playing around with kids. That helps a lot, right? Juggling is something that you can play around a lot with,
yeah.
and you can do it with whatever you find on the ground.
And
That's
you can even, if you have time, you can even teach. I remember being in southern Sudan in a little town, Nimule, and we were in a very small village, and we had the whole afternoon there, and we ended up teaching a couple of the kids juggling, and it was wonderful. Um, uh,
amazing. Yeah, amazing. It's
I
so
had a
so very.
I had a thought when you were talking, but I can't remember it right now. It'll come back. Um, I
Okay,
it's
Tom. So another question. Okay, go ahead. You found it? You
I,
found that?
no. I was just thinking, that old thing that magicians just do 3 things. They make something appear, they make something disappear, and they make something change. And with coins, I think the most startling thing, I mean, I'm no great coin magician, say like the great, and he just died, David Roth, just 2 months ago. And, uh, but to take a coin and put it into your hand and open your hand, and there's a chunk of metal in there. I use pyrite, it looks like fool's gold. And to squeeze that coin and turn it into a chunk of metal is amazing way to end a magic routine with coins. And you change the coins, or you can put a tiny little coin, a penny, into your hand and squeeze it, and it turns into a big coin or into something else. So if you just had 3 tricks, it's a great question that was asked. Like, what 3 things could you take that you could do a 20 or 30-minute magic show with,
Yeah. And I love the way that you said, yeah, not a playing cards, like not playing cards, because if you're going to be in a social setting, chances are they don't know, say, cards. Yeah. It-
Yeah.
that. that's gonna feel like a magic thing, right? So it's
Yeah,
pretty.
I think too many magicians rely on uh, playing cards too much. I think they're amazing. I mean, they're just amazing what you can do with a pack of playing cards. It's amazing. But and there are obviously, we all know, magicians who specialize only in playing cards, and that's certainly okay, but it doesn't work so well in a lot of the situations that we go to around the world. You know,
I agree. Okay,
you
so
had
Tom,
another,
question.
yeah.
Yeah. After we talked all about this, something that's a little bit more selfish, that would be which one is the one that you enjoy the most performing in a social setting? Which would be the trick that you enjoy the most?
Uh, this is not one of the three, but
Okay, whatever. Yeah.
it's the one that I usually end my show with, and that is a mouth coil, which again is a very small thing, a little piece of paper, and that little coil of colored um, ribbon, and uh, it amazes people. Janet has taken hundreds of pictures, thousands of pictures over these 20 years, and to see the look on people's faces when that little piece of paper comes out, and then it comes out, and then it comes out, and it keeps coming and coming and coming. It's just really I think one of the things I love doing that uh, probably the most, you know.
So good, so good. I think for me, the one that I enjoy the most, I have one moment with ropes that I just love, and it's part of the Tavaris rope routine, and it's when you're playing with the twins of the rope in the middle, right? And you have the middle on one hand, and you put the ends on your pocket, and
Oh
then
yeah,
you leave it on the pocket, and then you say, "Oh, I'm grabbing like one of imaginary ends," and you throw it to the middle. Then one end pops out from the middle. I mean, that specific moment, I love that specific moment. I mean, that moment is just like, wow. But I think sponge balls. I don't know that. I love performing sponge balls in a kind of in a street kind of magic thing. I don't know why I love that. I love that one.
there are some moves like that one you just described from Tamariz, where the end that was in your pocket pops out of your hand. Just there are some moves that just feel so good to do, and that one is one of them. I don't do that routine. I would really love. I've always loved that, and I could incorporate that. There's a moment in the Mamma Mia rope routine that I do where I take the ends off the rope. I could
Yeah,
do that.
sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah. Which book of Tamariz is that rope routine in? Do you know?
That's in the. I knew it from a DVD. It's his road routine on DVD that he put out after he won the
Fism?
1991 FISM. Yeah, with just the rope. Um, the name escapes right now, but I think it's just rope routine from Talari. I have
Okay.
to look that out. But it's
Okay.
on that first DVD of him uh, from 1991 or 92. I think it's from
Is
there.
that Fism rope? Is that Fism rope act on YouTube? Do you
Yes,
think?
sure. if you look for a Tavares routine, and he has a great routine also in the Le Plus Grand Cabaret du Monde or something like that. The show, the French TV show of cabaret show.
Yeah.
He has that whole routine there. It's just amazing. And I had the privilege of seeing him here in Colombia, and talking about that routine with him. That was just, and I had just learned it. I don't know, it was just such a cool moment to have him, walk me through some of the moves. And then he's like, let me show you what I'm working with right now. And he just goes off and doing some crazy stuff with the ropes.
Oh,
It's just flipping amazing.
he's
Flipping amazing.
so zany. It would be wonderful some night on the show to just go through that the five, what is it called, the 5 ways of magic or something, and he goes through the body and how we use our body doing magic.
Yeah,
Uh,
he
the
says,
eyes, the
yeah,
eyes, the hands, the mouth, and he breaks
we
down.
could definitely do that. Yeah,
Pardon?
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Walk through some theory on a book. I would love that, Tom. I would love that. So, Tom, these were the questions for today. Thank you so much for being here, and for you guys for sending on in those questions. If you would like us to talk about a subject or answer any questions, please do send them through the comments of this video, wherever you're watching, or if you're watching in audio, send it to us. You can tweet them at magicianswb, or send them to the email that's podcast@magicianswithoutborders. We will definitely take a look at it. And before we leave, I want to remind you that we, as I said, have said also, have a great online magic course called Become a Magician, where Tom here teaches you 13 tricks that you can put on a show, half an hour show by yourself. So actually, it's not showing. Let me just fix that real quick. And you could learn this at. Let me just do this here, right here, because you're going to be able to see it right now. Yes. And so you can go to learn.magicianswithoutborders.com, and over there you can get just a course for you, and you can put on that show. Or if you're looking to learn tricks that are easy to perform and to learn with everyday objects, I think there's only 2 here with a deck of cards out of the 13, if I'm not
Yeah.
mistaken. And it's just a wonderful way to get that, and also to support us, because from every a course sold, we will of course keep on doing our work on the slums of big cities, and our education chapters all over the world.
Yeah,
So,
we
Tom,
we, we
go ahead.
created that course during the lockdown, when we had to be at home, and we say that you can do it with things you have at home, or you can buy at a local drugstore for less than $5. So it's not, it doesn't involve complicated props. Very much what we were talking about tonight. Simple things: coins, pencils, rubber bands, paper bags, a deck of cards. Okay.
So thank you,
Thank
Tom, and thank you everybody for being here with us this week. And please, if you like this podcast or this video, please do share them with your friends, or with anybody that might be interested in what we're talking about, social magic, and how to create a just world using magic. So thank you, Tom, again. Bye bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Bye bye.